Look, it's one thing criticising the government, and the Labour Party does that, and lots of people are doing that at the moment. But we need an alternative then. You've got to make an alternative argument. How would the Labour Party deal with this crisis that we're in at the moment?
Well, we actually announced our plans back in August, and we said we would keep the energy price cap where it is at the moment. But I think there's a two-pronged approach, actually. You've not only got to deal with the immediate issues with the increase in energy costs, you've also got to have a long-term plan to make sure we're not in this position again. That means improving energy security and making the most of the natural resources that we have in this country, which means that we've got to get back wind power, we've got to get more investment in solar, in nuclear, in hydrogen. There are lots of ways that we can invest in our futures to make sure that we're not so reliant on fossil fuels and world energy price spikes in the future.
And that's where you would probably come under a lot of criticism, or in for a lot of criticism, isn't it? Because so many people at the moment just feel we're in a crisis, we need something done immediately, really. We do need energy security, but they're not prepared to pay for anything green or renewable at the moment because that requires long-term investment.
It does require long-term investment, but the sooner we start with that, the sooner we will reap the dividends. There's plenty of studies out there that show that the longer you leave this investment, the more expensive it becomes. But actually what we have said is there is immediate help on offer. We've come up with our price cap, and actually, crucially, we've explained how we're going to pay for it as well. We've made very clear that we will do more with the windfall tax that was belatedly introduced by the government earlier this year, and that will actually ensure that our plans are costed. And it's obviously one of the reasons why we've had this economic turmoil in the last couple of weeks is because the government came forward with plans and they didn't have any explanation as to how they were going to pay for them.
Well, that's settled down somewhat. The markets have settled somewhat on that one. But this is about providing. I mean, it's one thing to be an opposition party, isn't it? It's another thing to be an opposition party in the run-up to an election, which is a maximum of 2 years away now, if not sooner. You've got to reach. Are you sitting down? Is the shadow cabinet sitting down and actually putting together clear policy objectives now?
Yes, they are. And the conference, which was just a couple of weeks ago, had a raft of policy announcements every day, talking about investment in breakfast clubs, dealing with the NHS workforce crisis, investment in green new energy, improving workers' rights. Every day there were a whole series of announcements which we think will dramatically transform the way this country works for the better. So we are shaping up for government. Obviously, the polls are very positive at the moment. The Conservatives are in meltdown. But we also know that we have got to convince people that we are right for this country, that we're a responsible government, and that we have the solutions to the many challenges that we face. I think we are in a very good position to do that now.
Certainly you face interesting times, don't you? As Stephen was saying, the next general election is likely to be announced probably within 18 months, maybe just a bit longer than that. What would be the best time for you in the Labour Party to face a general election, do you think?
Well, we would like an election straight away because the longer that this country has a Conservative government, the more damage is done. It's pretty clear already, isn't it, that the country have made up their minds about Liz Truss in not a favourable way at all. If this is meant to be her honeymoon period, which all prime ministers have, then I think the Tory party are looking for a very quick divorce. But people are already feeling the impact of her premiership. They're going to be paying far more in their mortgages. We know that there are many challenges in the cost of living crisis that are still not being addressed. So the sooner that we can get rid of this government, the better. I feel, obviously, that the Conservative Party are not going to go for a general election when they're so far behind in the polls, and we may be waiting for rather longer than we would like.
We've only got 30 seconds left. I'm intrigued, though. I mean, Labour says, you want to work for the benefit of the country. Keep calling for a general election now. That's the worst thing for the country, isn't it, actually, because it would put politics on hold again for another month, 2 months at least?
The worst thing for this country is a Conservative government, and you can see the damage that's been done with just 1 month of Liz Truss's leadership. can you imagine what state we're going to be in 18 months, 2 years' time, if she's allowed to continue? We absolutely need to get rid of this government as soon as possible.